All right, guys, welcome back to the Pocket Mads channel. It's Maddie here, and guess what? The new trailer for the next set to come to Pokemon Pocket has been officially announced. It is B2 Fantastical Parade. The trailer came out. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Very, very exciting. In today's video, what we're going to do is break down all of the new cards and new information from a strategic analytical perspective. That's what we do here on the channel. We look at things from a competitive perspective. I'm going to be analyzing these cards, giving my thoughts, my opinions, my predictions as to how I think these cards will impact the competitive metagame for Pokemon Pocket. So utilize the timestamps down below if you want to skip ahead in today's video, but super exciting, guys. It's been literally 6 weeks and I'm very, very excited about this. Now, the one thing that we got to talk about before we get into the cards here, and again, this might be spoilers if you haven't seen the trailer, but, you know, go watch the trailer and then tune back into the video if that's the case. The one thing that we need to talk about here is the fact that this is going to be a mini set. This is going to be a single booster pack. Now, most people, including myself, expected this to be a 2-pack set, given the fact that this is not, you know, the name denomination for this set isn't, you know, B1B. It's not like a mini set. It's like a full expansion, but it's one booster pack. So what does this mean? We don't have the full set count, or I guess, you know, the card list. We don't know how many cards are in this booster pack, but this is not a dual pack, just like a year ago when A2 released, it was Space Time Smackdown and we had 2 booster packs. So they might be doing something a little bit different. We have to keep in mind, though, that the 30th anniversary of Pokemon is coming late February, so about a month after this set releases. And to be fair, you know, yes, I would have liked to seen, you know, 2 booster packs and a bunch of new cards, but at the end of the day, at least we got something new, and as long as we're not waiting 6 weeks after the set releases for another new set, I'm all about it. I don't mind it whatsoever. So we'll have to see exactly what happens, but that is kind of the elephant in the room. This is not 2 booster packs, it's 1 booster pack. Again, we don't know how many cards are going to be in the set, but at the end of the day, you know, the cards that have been announced are very, very, very interesting, and I'm super excited to talk about them. If we go down a little bit here, we see that this is, of course, B2. That is the denomination for the set. It's coming out January 28th, although I think, yeah, it's supposed to come out January 28th, but that might mean 29th given your time zone. So I still think the January 29th, like at, you know, midnight or 1 in the morning, whatever it is going to be the, you know, the actual sort of release window for this set. So that is, you know, about a week away. That's going to be Wednesday night or Thursday morning next week. I assume that's what's going to be happening, but here you go. Here's the trailer. If you want to go ahead and look at it, we'll break down all of the other updates and features that have been data mined and leaked coming from the set. But what we got to do is get into the cards. To be fair, guys, this is the most exciting time of the months for me. This is like what I live for, which I know is a little bit dramatic, but anybody that watches this channel knows that this is what I get excited about. So if I feel very excited here, that's the reason, all right? Let's just go in order, okay? So the first card we're going to take a look at, which is, I definitely like the poster child for this expansion, is going to be Mega Gardevoir EX. That's right, guys. Mega Gardevoir. A lot of people love Gardevoir. I love Gardevoir. Another psychic type Mega Pokemon, okay? So keep in mind, you know, potentially the best Mega Pokemon in the game right now is a psychic type card, being Mega Altaria. We're getting another one here, Mega Gardevoir. There is some differences here. This is a Stage 2 Pokemon and not a Stage 1 Pokemon, so we likely will be looking to use Rare Candy. That is, of course, unless we get a new Kirlia card that has a very strong effect. Now, keep in mind, we did see this for Gardevoir EX and Mega Gardevoir in the official TCG. There was a Kirlia card that was very strong and was very important to the overall archetype. So, similar to what we got in Crimson Blaze with those Stage 2 Pokemon, with, you know, War Turtle, with Charmeleon, with Ivysaur, it might have a very powerful attack or effect or an ability on Kirlia. So we might be utilizing that middle evolution. We have not seen Kirlia yet. Just keep in mind that might be a possibility. If not, we're going to be playing Rare Candies, likely also just playing Rare Candies in the deck anyway. You know, some sort of a combination like we've seen here in sets or in decks from the previous couple of seasons. Now, this is a psychic Pokemon that is weak to dark, and that is also a big difference here. So, you know, there is some dark type Pokemon in the metagame that are quite relevant. I'm looking at you, Hydreigon, very, very powerful archetype. It is a dark type card. So, Mega Gardevoir here, 210 HP instead of 190 on Mega Altaria. It's a Stage 2 Pokemon, but it is weak to dark and not steel like Mega Altaria is, of course. And I understand, you know, fairy types weak to steel. I get that. I get all that. Mega Gardevoir weak to dark. Let's take a look here at this card. Retreat cost of 1 and 210 HP. It has the attack Fantasia, Force, 2 psychic energies, 110 damage, which, you know, let's be fair here. 110 damage is not a very good number, right? At face value. Now, the effect of this attack is incredible. Take 3 psychic energies from your energy zone and attach it to your psychic Pokemon in any way you would like. 0 restrictions. 3 energies plus 3 which is crazy, by the way. Like 3 extra energies is a big deal no matter what the scenario is. Take 3 energies from your energy zone and attach it to your psychic Pokemon however you want to. So as long as it's psychic energy and as long as it is psychic Pokemon, you can do it however you want to, including putting those energies in a Gardevoir itself, which you might be wondering, why would we do that? We'll cover that here later in a little bit. So here's the card. Again, pretty straightforward, but there is another card releasing in the set that is definitely, and I mean it, definitely meant to be paired with Mega Gardevoir. So let's take a step back here and let's take a look at that new supporter card coming, because it is sort of very relevant to this Mega Gardevoir card. And this card is going to be Diantha. And this is, of course, I believe, the champion of the Kalos region, which, you know, is a trainer that uses Gardevoir. So this makes sense that this card is meant to be played with Gardevoir. This card reads, heal 90 damage. 90 damage from one of your psychic Pokemon that has 2 or more psychic energies attached. If you healed any damage this way, discard 2 psychic energies from that Pokemon. So this seems like a pretty decent card at face value, but then when you relate that card, of course, or this card to Gardevoir EX, you can kind of see what we're working with here. Gardevoir can hit for 110 damage for 2 psychic energies, generate 3 additional energies to itself. That's 5 energies total. We can play Diantha, heal 90 damage from a 210 HP Pokemon, and then just kind of ride from there. So that is the archetype here. That is the sort of the pre-built package that they are releasing for Mega Gardevoir, which in my opinion is absolutely broken here. So, I mean, let's just sort of, you know, crunch some of the numbers. Gardevoir EX, Mega Gardevoir, 210 HP. We'll slap a giant cape on this if we want to. That's 230, meaning if we heal for 90 damage, that is effectively, you know, 320 effective HP across 2 turns, which means we have to hit for 160 twice. Now, what Pokemon in the game can hit back-to-back turns for 160? I'll answer that. Practically none. However, there is one very important, which we'll talk about. This is a very, very impactful card. Not only can we play Diantha in Mega Gardevoir, but we can also play Lily, which is going to give this deck even more boosted potential for the turns where maybe we don't have Diantha in our hand. We can play Lily, and that's healing for 60 damage because it's a stage 2 Pokemon, which is, again, a lot of healing. I've said this time and time again, one of the biggest advantages of stage 2 Mega Pokemon is their high HP amount and the fact that they have access to Lily, because 60 healing is still a lot of healing. That in mind, guys, we also, of course, have Indeedee EX, which can heal for up to 20 or up to 40 if you have double Indeedees on your bench. That means that Mega Gardevoir here can heal for a total of 130 damage in a single turn. That's not including things like a potions or whatever that we might be playing, or even leftovers, right? Or is it leftovers or citrus berry? Whatever the tool card that heals 10 every turn, that like Mega Snorlax or Snorlax EX sometimes used to utilize. So you could even use a card like that instead of Giant Cape. You might even get more value out of it. Very, very interesting package here. In my mind, this is one of the strongest things we've ever gotten in Pokemon Pocket. And again, it's really leaning into that one facet of Mega Pokemon that I think has been underutilized since they released, which is, again, you know, the large HP amount on some of these stage 2 Megas, and the fact, of course, that we have access to Lily. Now we have a card that, you know, has even more healing associated with it. And again, I know it's Psychic type, so you can play Indeedee in the deck and still utilize Indeedee maybe as an attacking option. Very interesting here. My first thoughts with Mega Gardevoir is going to be, well, how consistent can we get it on board? There is a lot of Chingling in the metagame, so of course we're going to be limited by rare candies. Mega Absol is a Dark-type Pokemon which can discard supporter cards from your hand, which means it's hitting you for weakness. Not only that, but sometimes plays, of course, Rocky Helmet and whatnot, but it also has the ability to discard supporter cards, so it will take that Diantha or that Lily out of your hand. So you got to keep that in mind. Hydreigon is another interesting one. Hydreigon hits for 130 damage, but what we're seeing a lot right now is like Rocky Helmets or Poison Barb Nihilego played with Hydreigon, which is going to really rack up the damage, which means that Hydreigon can actually hit you for 150 turn after turn, and that's a single prize Pokemon, and Mega Gardevoir hitting for 110 damage is not going to be able to one-hit KO a Hydreigon, not nearly as effectively as you might think, especially since they oftentimes play Indeedee. So that's going to be a really interesting interaction with Mega Gardevoir, is how it's going to play and match up against Hydreigon in the format right now. As we know, Hydreigon, a very explosive, you know, aggressive deck that has the potential to attack really early in the game. Mega Gardevoir, not really something that feels that way. However, technically speaking, with the double energy attack cost, we're going to be able to get Mega Gardevoir up and running on turn 2 going second, which is absolutely broken if our opponent doesn't have any counterplay to it, like a Chingling and whatnot. And this leads me to really the first discussion. We're spending a lot of time talking about Gardevoir, but this is, I think, the biggest thing to talk about today, is how this deck list and this new archetype is going to interact with other decks in the active metagame. That's the one thing that we have to think about and we have to consider. I think that Mega Gardevoir here, again, we talked about the Indeedee stuff, but realistically, Mega Gardevoir into something like a Suicune and Greninja, which as we know is sort of a premier archetype in the meta right now, is going to struggle, or Suicune's going to struggle, I should say, into Mega Gardevoir, because it doesn't rely on anything on its bench. You know, a Mega Gardevoir in the active spot alone means that it's only taking 60 or 80 damage, you know, every turn from a Suicune EX. And with 210 HP, with Lilies, with Diantha, this thing is never going to get KO'd by a Suicune. So I think that in that particular matchup, this is an archetype that has the potential to really do well into Suicune and Greninja, which I really think is going to be a really big deal. As we've seen, you know, Suicune Greninja struggles with some of these, you know, big Pokemon that can sit in the active spot alone and then heal, like specifically things like Venusaur and like Decidueye. Here's a card that operates very similarly, but it's a Psychic type Pokemon. So very, very interesting. Pokemon Pocket and the developers, and I have to give them some credit, they sort of do this type of balancing to the game. They don't really retroactively nerf particular, you know, decks or cards or strategies, but what they do is they sort of just release better and better things as time goes on, and there's always sort of a new thing to worry about, right? It's kind of what happened before Suicune and Greninja, right? There was Giratina Darkrai, and eventually it just wasn't up to par with some of the other things in the metagame, especially after Mega Pokemon came out. What's very interesting about this Gardevoir strategy is because it is a Mega Pokemon, it's likely going to struggle here into archetypes that can build up multiple Pokemon at the same time, which, you know, one of the decks that fits that build like would be Giratina Darkrai. So I know that's sort of a weird thing to say, but I think that Mega Gardevoir EX in this whole package could actually struggle into a Giratina Darkrai matchup, you know, theoretically. So I'm not saying Giratina Darkrai is coming back, because I think right now in the format we have like Altaria Giratina, which operates very similarly, but that's sort of a type of matchup that Mega Gardevoir might struggle against. Now, the last thing I have to mention here about my predictions with this archetype, because I do think that this has Tier 1, potentially Tier 0 potential, and I'm not saying that lightly. I think this is broken. This is one of the strongest things that we've gotten in Pokemon Pocket. We have to address the one thing that I think some people might not realize at first glance, which is that we do actually have an archetype, a card, a Pokemon in the game right now that directly counters this Gardevoir strategy. And you might be already thinking about it, maybe you're not, but I'm talking about Mega Charizard. Why? That's right. So the poster child of the previous set is actually a card and a strategy that is built specifically to beat this strategy, which I think is actually a really smart move from the developers of Pokemon Pocket, from Dina. Like they're sort of on top of things. I got to give them credit here, because when Charizard released, and I said this, like, this is a strong card, it just doesn't match up. There's not a particular reason why we would need to do 250 damage. Like, some matchups it's useful, but it's not that relevant. Now, if Mega Gardevoir comes in and it is sort of that new Tier 0 deck, we already have a predetermined and a pre-built archetype, which is going to be able to deal with Mega Gardevoir very, very effectively, and I find that to be very, very interesting and very, very cool. So, to wrap it all up here, to move on, because we've been talking about this for a while, my opinions about Mega Gardevoir is that it's going to come in, it's going to see a ton of play because it's the new premier archetype, and it's going to be very, very strong. But I think that there is potential for the counter meta to develop rather quickly, which might lead Mega Gardevoir to not have the success early in the season that you might think it will. But I do think no matter what happens, Mega Gardevoir will have a big impact, which is always going to be a good thing for the progression and the health and the refreshment of the competitive metagame. So that's my opinion. Keep your eye on Charizard, because Charizard is going to love matching up against Mega Gardevoir and just one at KOing it for game. That's going to be hilarious. So keep that in mind here. Very, very, very interesting stuff. This whole package between Mega Gardevoir and Diantha, massively, massively interesting. Next up here, and actually we should, what I'm going to do next is actually cover this new card, this new type of card, because it is sort of meant to kind of pair with Mega Gardevoir. I'm not going to go in direct order here. So the next thing we're going to talk about is peculiar, I don't know how to say it. I can't say that word. Peculiar Plaza is the stadium card. Guys, we're getting stadium cards is what I'm trying to say here. I know, we dragged that out. Stadium cards are coming to Pokemon Pocket now, and not everybody who's watching this video or watches my channel and plays Pokemon Pocket will have played the official Pokemon trading card game, so they might not know what stadiums are. Stadium cards are cards that one player puts into play that creates an effect for both players actively. It doesn't go away until somebody else plays a different stadium card, which will, of course, remove that stadium card from play, and then, that new effect goes onto the board. So the stadium card here is an active effect that lasts until it gets removed, and it works for both players here. Peculiar Plaza reads that the retreat cost of each psychic Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's, is 2 less. That's very interesting. This is a very interesting card. This is going to be a really relevant card in a lot of different ways. We talked about with Mega Gardevoir how we do have access to Ralts with Teleport, which isn't a bad card. But now we have Peculiar Plaza. So if you are playing in DD or Chingling or in Ralts and stuff, and those are the basic Pokemon in your Gardevoir deck, you have a lot more freedom here. We don't have to play X speed. You can play put the stadium down and get free retreat for all of those Pokemon, which is going to make your deck a little bit more consistent. However, it will also work for your opponent. So just keep that in mind. A very interesting card. When I first saw this card, I was like, well, how are we, what are we doing with Gardevoir? Because I first saw Gardevoir and then I saw the stadium and then I saw Diantha. But before I saw the supporter card, I saw this and I was like, are we really playing like a Gardevoir, Lunala type deck? Is that what we're doing here? This stadium card is very good. I think it's just a good card for any psychic type deck. But at the same time, it would work really well with Lunala. So I don't know if Lunala is something that's going to come back to the game. Yeah, very interesting. Free retreat for all psychic Pokemon. Not free retreat, but retreat cost of 2 or less. Most psychic Pokemon have a retreat cost of 2 or less. Giratina is an example of that. Yeah, a very interesting card. Stadiums are coming here. It's likely that we're going to be getting more than one stadium card in the set, but it is sort of a new type of card added to Pokemon Pocket. This has a whole bunch of other implications to it, mostly because, again, we can only fit 20 cards into our deck. So, are we really going to have room for Peculiar Plaza? Maybe we played in Psychic type decks for that consistency, but I can't really imagine it being that much of a key card as opposed to things like Research or Copycat and all your Pokemon and whatnot. But very interesting. Stadium cards officially coming to Pokemon Pocket. I'm sure that they had to reprogram the entire game to accommodate stadium cards. So this is actually a somewhat big deal from a developer's perspective because they actually had to reprogram the game for these stadium cards. But maybe they'll be bugged or something when they come out. Who knows? But very interesting. Sorry, I muted my microphone. I muted my mic on accident. Very interesting. Stadiums are coming. Keep in mind, stadiums typically only come to the game in groups or pairs, right? So if this is the only stadium card in the game, it just doesn't really make sense because you would never play a different stadium card to remove it from the game. So what this means is that we will be getting at least one other stadium card, but sometimes with stadiums, what happens is you get a stadium card that just directly counters other stadiums and it's not really meant to do anything other than that. So we might be getting something like that. Just keep in mind. But yeah, very interesting. Very, very interesting stadium card here, which has a lot of other implications to the game. The other thing I want to cover here is another card that might fit into this whole Gardevoir package, which is going to be Meloetta. And this is a very, again, an interesting card, a very strong ability here. Strange Singing here. Meloetta, by the way, basic psychic Pokemon, 70 HP, retreat cost of 1, weak to dark, Psy Shot, 2 energies, 50 damage. The whole thing about Meloetta here is going to be the ability. Strange Singing. At the beginning of your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, put a random psychic Pokemon from your deck into your hand. So this doesn't work at the end of your turn like Suicune, it works at the beginning of your turn, which is quite interesting. Now, this is a Pokemon that we can kind of just leave into the active spot. The reason why I wanted to mention this is because I do think this is relevant with Gardevoir. One of the things with Gardevoir is finding your Pokemon, right? The consistency of getting that strategy up and running. Meloetta is a Pokemon that you can just sort of have in the active. It can just sit there. You never have to attach energies to it. In fact, you can just let your opponent KO these Meloettas, and that's honestly going to work in your benefit because then you can just Mars them to 1 or 2 cards and then go into Gardevoir. So this Meloetta here is a very, very interesting card. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Shiinotic, but the thing with Shiinotic is that it was more of a bench Pokemon, and it was a stage 1 Pokemon, so it was maybe just not as good as this card is. I think this card could be potentially very, very broken in any psychic type deck, particularly in Gardevoir, since it is an evolution-based psychic type deck. So this is a really relevant card. Maybe it's not as worth running as things like Chingling and Copycats, but I do really like Meloetta, and I think it has a lot of potential. Just keep that in mind. We have to be careful with how we build Gardevoir because there is still going to be the Greninja Cyrus shenanigans, right? So we don't really want to play stage 1 Pokemon, or sorry, a single prize Pokemon and Indeedee, which is a 2 prize Pokemon if Gardevoir is the whole strategy here. So we got to keep that in mind when you're building Gardevoir. Maybe it's not even worth it to play Indeedee, and if you are playing Indeedee, probably not worth it to play other, or to play any single prize Pokemon because of the prize math, right? Just keep that in mind. Anyway, that's the whole Psychic type package. A lot of stuff coming. Gardevoir EX, Meloetta, Diantha, and the Peculiar Plaza Stadium card. They've kind of just shown it to us. They've just sort of given it to us. They're like, hey, look at this new pre-built broken deck, have fun with it. So anyway, there you go. 20 minutes into the video. Now we can move on to some of the other stuff that's a little bit also interesting, or definitely interesting. But the other Mega that was announced is Mega Mawile. This was teased. This was previously, I guess, confirmed to some degree. Mega Mawile is a basic, that's right, a basic Mega Pokemon Steel type, 170 HP, so very similar Pokemon here to things like Absol, retreat cost of 1. It is weak to fire, which might be relevant, might not be relevant here, but we have Heat Up Crunch is the attack cost. 1 steel energy, 1 colorless energy, guys. 1 colorless energy in this attack cost, which means because it's a basic, you can, of course, use the baby Pokemon that generate energies, like a Pichu, like a Magby, like a Mantike. You can use those Pokemon to generate an energy onto Mega Mawile, which is going to allow you to attack on your second turn going first. I'm talking so much in this video. I'm talking so quickly. Keep that in mind. We can turbo. We can play turbo Mawile. We also, of course, have a variety of other cards in the game that are going to reduce the damage to Mega Mawile because it is a steel type Pokemon. The attack here, though, for 1 colorless, 1 steel energy is Heat Up Crunch. 60 damage, only 60. And until this Pokemon leaves the active spot, this Pokemon's Heat Up Crunch attack does plus 30 damage, and this effect stacks. They did specifically tell us that in the attack cost. So we come in, we're going to hit for 60 next turn. If we don't get pushed out of the active by things like Repel or Sabrina, we're going to be hitting for 90 on the following turn. And then, of course, 120 on the following turn, then 150, so on and so forth. This is an interesting card to me. The reason why this is interesting is because, and at first glance, this might not seem very strong, but if you keep in mind that a lot of strategies are a bit reliant on taking, 2, 3, sometimes 4 turns to get set up. If we're not playing anything that can either one-hit KO Mawile when it comes into the game or get set up early enough, Mega Mawile will ramp a bit out of control. It's just a Pokemon that we're going to prioritize getting in the active spot, getting up and running on our second turn, and hoping that we can ride that out until we're just one-hit KOing everything on our opponent's board. And honestly, this is another card that specifically to me seems like it will just beat Suicune and Greninja. I might be just completely off key with that. But yeah, basically speaking, like if you go second leading Mega Mawile, like you beat Suicune and Greninja. They can't do anything about it. You're gonna hit for 60 and then 90, which is gonna 2-hit KO the Suicune or whatever's in the active. It'll 1-hit KO a lot of basic Pokemon, guys. Keep that in mind. If this is our second turn going first, if we did turbo a baby to it, our opponent doesn't have the opportunity to evolve their basic Pokemon that might be in the active spot, which means we're just gonna KO it because it's 60 damage. And most basics, have 60 or 50 HP, right? Basics that evolve multiple times, that is, right? So, think about Froakies, think about Swablues, things like that. Mega Mawile here is going to be really, really annoying. This is like Miltank. So imagine, the Miltank card that came out a couple of sets ago, but a lot better, just a much stronger card. And that's what Mega Mawile is. It's a very sort of aggressive early game, pressure Pokemon that might have the potential to beat a lot of different archetypes in the game. Very, very interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a very interesting card, very appealing to me. We can Giant Cape it, go to 190, or you can play the Metal Apron or whatever and take 10 less damage. We do have potions and PCLs in the game. You can play Indeedee EX with this. Keep in mind, Indeedee can heal anything, right? So yeah, like Mega Mawile with damage reduction or 20 more HP, healing for 40 every turn, ramping up on you, like it is something that has potential. I don't think in general it's like that broken or as broken as like the whole Gardevoir stuff we just talked about, but it's a lot easier to play. It's a low impact card in the sense that you just need to play one card in your deck and you can do that. You know what I mean? Like Mega Mawile just sort of does its own thing. So I find that to be interesting. This is definitely a somewhat relevant card as far as, all of the steel type Mega Pokemon that we've gotten, which I think is only one. But in general, out of all of the steel type Pokemon we've gotten for quite some time, this thing is quite powerful, and I'm actually really excited about it. So could add another dimension to the game. What it's looking like right now are these 2 new archetypes, Gardevoir and Mawile. Both seem strong to me into Suicune and Greninja. I could be wrong. Again, we haven't gotten these cards. We haven't tested it. We haven't played the decks yet. But to me, it seems strong. This seems like these are strong cards into that particular matchup, and that's very interesting. Another card that will just get absolutely no diffed by Charizard. You will lose to Charizard. Same with Gardevoir. So what's kind of, seemingly happening here is that we're releasing very strong archetypes that just lose to Charizard, which, to be fair, might be a really smart move for trying to push the metagame forward, right? Retroactively buffing Charizard by releasing these other strong archetypes. Next up is going to be Teal Mask Ogerpon. Now, we talked about this in our video a couple of days ago because Ogerpon was teased. We were kind of spot on with that. People, the leakers, or not the leakers, but the riddle solvers were correct in the Pokemon that, they thought were coming. Ogerpon's coming. And as we talked about in that video, there's different types of Ogerpons, like different masks. And this is denoted here in the card name, Teal Mask Ogerpon EX. We very well could be getting the other Ogerpons, like the rock type one and the water type one and the fire type one. And maybe we get some card that allows them to swap between each other. Who knows, right? That's what happens. That's what that archetype does in the official TCG. So it's interesting. I do think that this Ogerpon card will not be the only Ogerpon card coming. But let's take a look at this card here. Basic, non-mega, just an EX Pokemon worth 2 prizes here, worth 2 points. 130 HP grass type. We can Leaf Cape onto Ogerpon, that's 160. And it's got the attack here, Energized Leaves, weak to fire, and a retreat cost of 1. 2 grass energies. A little bit disappointing to see, quite frankly, because we don't have really any grass energy acceleration other than things like Leafeon. I understand Leafeon exists, but yeah. Energized Leaves, 60 damage, and if the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon is 5 or more, we deal 60 more damage. That's 120 for 2 energies. You know, this card to me, the attack seems okay. Like this isn't something that stands out to me as like overly broken. But let's take a look at the ability here. Soothing Wind. Each of your Pokemon that has any energy attached to it recovers from all special conditions and cannot be affected by special conditions. So that is interesting. It's a weird card to see, quite frankly, because like in the meta right now, like, you know, what decks are like entirely reliant on status conditions, right? We are seeing the new Hydreigon deck in the Crobat decks that are poison-based decks, so they are in the metagame. We do see Blaziken, which can burn, and we see Mega Lopunny sometimes, which has confusion, but I wouldn't really consider any of the top tier archetypes to really center around status conditions. But, you know, this could be a card that sees play just in really any deck. I mean, you would think you'd play this in like a grass type deck, but it's strange. You know, it's just it's a strange one. It's quite a weird card here. I don't know directly what the impact of this card will be, or whether or not it's really worth playing this card in non-grass type decks. But I guess it is going to stop you from getting put to sleep by Swablu. So my boy Sakaru is probably going to be pretty excited about that. Shout out to him. I'll have to talk to him about this card. But yeah, so effectively, you know, like, you know, immune to status conditions for all of your Pokemon is kind of what this card does. The attack is somewhat decent. It's a 2-price Pokemon. It's kind of a bench hitter, kind of not. It's kind of a flex card. It's an interesting one. I like this card. I don't think it's like overly broken, but maybe there's something else that comes out in the set that really does make this card do well. I don't know. But yeah, looking at the current metagame and the current landscape, I just don't really know what this card is supposed to do. But, you know, again, they might be thinking ahead of the curve here. They might be ready to release some super broken status condition card. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? So we do have Ogerpon here, which is a very strong card. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for, you know, providing value in the current meta, I guess is what I mean. I just gave you some examples, so maybe it's worth it. Could be a good inclusion in grass type decks. Who knows? Really, the only grass type decks right now is like Venusaur, which again also does status conditions. So yeah, I guess there's that. And then Decidueye, right? But I don't really see this card seeing much play in either of those decks. So interesting, very interesting. We also saw another EX card, which is Mimikyu EX, 120 HP on this little guy. Another Psychic type Pokemon here. It has Claw Slash, double Psychic energy, 70 damage, retreat cost of 2, so free retreat with a Stadium card. Also weak to Dark. All of these Psychic Pokemon are weak to Dark, but it has the Disguise ability. Now, this is where, you know, this is where things get a little interesting, quite frankly, because I think Mimikyu EX is absolutely broken. This card is so broken, it's hard to really explain it. And it maybe isn't that broken, but like when I read this card, it's crazy to me. The ability Disguise reads that when this Pokemon is first damaged by an attack after coming into play, which means that it doesn't work if it's on the bench. Like, you can still just ping this thing with Greninja. But even if it has damage, the effect still works. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you ping this thing with Greninja and you bring it up into the active spot with Cyrus, the effect still works. The ability still works here. When this Pokemon is first damaged by an attack after coming into play, prevent that damage, which means that it's just immune to an attack for the first time you bring it in, which, you know, might not seem like that big of a deal because it only has 120 HP and it only deals 70 damage. But keep in mind, guys, this is a free 70 damage. This is a literal free 70 damage attack. When you bring this in, you're going to hit for 70 and not take a hit. So if you're the first person that brings Mimikyu in, you're guaranteed to get 140 damage off minimum. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. Am I missing something here? Maybe it's not that good, but the way the ability reads to me is that when you bring this thing in the active, you're never going to be able to KO it. So it's a Pokemon that can just hang out on your bench, right? And if it ever gets brung up into the active spot, if we have the Stadium card, we can just free retreat out, and then the ability resets. The ability resets, guys. Read the ability here. I could be wrong, but the first time it comes into play, or the first time it takes damage after coming into play, which means that if it comes out of play and then back into play, the ability resets. Am I reading this wrong? I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going on here. That's how I interpret this card, which if that's the case, what are we doing here? What if we have double Mimikyus and we just retreat into each one every turn? What is going on? Maybe I'm reading this wrong. Comment down below if I'm wrong about this one. But reading this card, I'm absolutely terrified. I don't know what's going on anymore. But this is crazy. And again, we also have a free retreat stadium for this card particularly. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's what's going on here. Again, I kind of just gave you everything you needed to know, I think, about this. Maybe it's absolutely broken. Maybe the ability doesn't work like I think it does. I don't know, okay? All I know is that I don't know what's going on here, but infinite Mimikyu loop seems like it's going to be ridiculous, but, you know, whatever. That's Mimikyu EX. This is going to be a long video. A lot of these cards we don't have to spend too much time on. Next up is Galarian Obstagoon. Is Stage 2 Dark-type Pokemon, 150 HP. Double Dark in the attack cost, Merciless Strike, 70 damage, and if your opponent's Pokemon has any damage on it, this attack does 50 more damage. So for 2 energies, we're hitting for 130. This is kind of like a Hydreigon. 150 HP, doesn't damage itself, but it also can attack on your second turn going first. But this is a very strong card, especially, guys, and yet again, a Pokemon that just has a supporter card specifically with it. And again, you know, in the leaks, right, in the riddle solving information, they did have Team Yell as one of those things, and this kind of fits with it because we have Galarian Obstagoon. But take a look at this card, guys. Piers, I don't know. You can use this card only if you have Galarian Obstagoon in play. Discard 2 random energy cards from your opponent's active Pokemon. Not on a coin flip, not 1 energy, but just 2 energy discard? What? What are we talking about here? What? We're able to just play a card and discard 2 energies? Like, that's gonna win games outright. This is broken. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy to me. I don't know what's going on here. Whether we go first and we can go turn 2 evolve, but we can't attack, but we can just discard the energy from our opponent's active Pokemon. 150 HP, that's 170 on Galarian Obstagoon, which means you're living a hit, and then you can just discard 2 energies and then hit. You could even play Rocky Helmet, so if they hit you first, then we could deal the full damage with Obstagoon. Pierre's Obstagoon looks broken to me. This looks a little bit crazy. Another dark type card here. It is going to work quite well as a counterplay specifically to Gardevoir. Yes, I get that. This is sort of an archetype specifically maybe built to beat Gardevoir, which is strange because we already have this crazy single prize dark archetype in the game in Hydreigon, which seemingly will also do well into Gardevoir. I need to take a drink of water real quick. A lot of talking in today's video. We're absolutely going off. This set to me pops off a little bit more than Crimson Blaze did. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, the Galarian Obstagoon Pierre stuff is crazy to me. It just feels crazy. You can play Darkrai to get some damage off with the ping before we Merciless Strike to deal the damage. I don't know what's going on here, but absolutely broken. Seems like a card you could just play, you know, with Piers, with Team Rocket Grunt, and with Chingling or whatever, and then you just sort of ride out. Like, it's going to be legit. This is a legitimate card. 2 energies in the attack cost, very strong, going second especially. Anyway, that is Galarian Obstagoon. We are getting a Vanillite. Shout out to Vanillite. Does 20 damage for 1 water energy, which means we will be getting Vanillux and Vanillish, the evolutions. Don't know what those cards will be, but we are getting them. Shout out to Unova. Shout out to Generation 5, the greatest generation out there. We're also getting a new Fire-type Oricorio. We already have one of these, but this attack here, Inspiring Dance. 1 fire energy, 10 damage. During your next turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do plus 20 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Now, this is actually somewhat relevant because in some ways, so like what this ability means is that what this the effect of this attack means, because it's so weird like that this effect works this way, but it doesn't go on your opponent's active Pokemon as a negative effect, and it doesn't go on this Pokemon specifically. It goes on like your entire board. So it just sort of changes like how the game works. You could just attack with Oricorio and then retreat and then attack with a different Pokemon and deal plus 20 damage. And it doesn't even matter if your opponent retreats, right? Maybe I'm wrong about that. During your next turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do plus 20 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it doesn't specify that it has to be the same active Pokemon. Typically, an effect like this would work like that, and maybe that's how this works. If they retreat, then maybe that's not the case. But yeah, so you could play Oricorio, and then you could just retreat, go into Mega Blaziken, hit for 140, plus the burn, maybe plus a red, and all of a sudden Blaziken has a little bit more pop-off potential. Interesting, a very interesting card. That's really my only opinion about this card. Only 10 damage, but you know, at the end of the day, even if you were to just attack again with Oricorio on the following turn, that's 30 damage, right? So I mean, it does buff itself. If you're just sort of kamikazing with Oricorio when you attack until you get KO'd, the effect will carry over into a new Pokemon, which, you know, inherently is actually quite strong. So shout out to Oricorio. I actually do like this card. We have a Pumpkaboo, which means we will be getting a Gourgeist, I think is the evolved form of Pumpkaboo. We don't know what that card is, but we will be getting it. The art for this set is really fun. We're getting this Falinks card, and I kind of do like this Falinks card here. 70 HP fighting type basic Pokemon, and it has the attack here, Invade. 1 fighting energy, 20 damage, but it has the ability, Coordinated Unit. If you have any other Falinks in play, this Pokemon's attack do 20 plus 20 damage. I think it's supposed to be does plus 20. I don't know. This Pokemon's attacks. Oh, never mind. I read it wrong. I can't read. This Pokemon's attacks do plus 20 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. And this Pokemon takes 20 less damage from attacks from your opponent's active Pokemon. So we can only have 2 Falinks in play because you can only play 2 of any card in your deck. So if you have a Falinks in the active and you have 1 on the bench, you deal 40 damage for 1 fighting energy and you take 20 less damage, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's not bad. I don't know if it's better than just playing him on top or whatever, but it is cool. It's technically a card that you can play in fighting type decks. So yeah, I mean, that's there it is. There's Falinks, you know what I mean? I don't know. I think the way this card reads that if we were to get a Falinks EX, it will not stack, I don't think. If you have another Falinks in play. So like a Falinks EX is technically a different card name. So if they were to give us a Falinks EX, this would not stack like 4 times. It is what it is, you know what I mean? It's not bad. Next up is Ledian with the Swift Attack, Stage 1. So a Stage 1 Grass Pokemon. As we know, we have Quick Growth Extract and stuff, so pretty cool. Ledian, 80 HP. We can Leaf Cape, go to 110, as you guys all know. I'm going to say it about every Grass Pokemon. It has the Swift Attack. 1 Colorless Energy. 40 damage. This attack's damage is not affected by weakness or by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. This is like somewhat relevant, but not really. Because there's some stuff in the game. This is like if this was an EX, it still wouldn't hit through Oricorio. It's not an EX card, so you're just gonna hit for 40 on anything. That's all this means. If they're playing like Steel Apron, or if they're playing like if they play Blue, or if it's Furfrou, which takes 20 less damage, like anything like that, is what we're hitting through. So it's just a guaranteed 40 damage for 1 colorless. It doesn't jump out to me really, but it is a Pokemon, and 40 damage is 40 damage. I don't think it's really worth playing, but there you go. We already took a look at Meloetta, and we already took a look at Diantha and Piers. Let's take a look at the 3rd supporter card that was released. In mini sets of single packs, we typically, I think, only get 3 supporters. We might be getting 1 new supporter card, I don't know. But this is going to be Sightseer, a new supporter card here, which, by the way, is more Stage 1 Pokemon support. Why not? Yeah, so this card reads, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put all Stage 1 Pokemon you find there into your hand, and shuffle the other cards back into your deck. This could be a really good card for archetypes that are just playing several Stage 1 Pokemon. You know, right off the bat, I'm thinking things like Whimsicott with Ariados, right? I mean, that's all Stage 1 Pokemon. Could be kind of interesting. Ledian is an example of that. You know, Alolan Executor. There are Stage 1 Pokemon in the game. We could potentially play like Mega Altaria with other Stage 1 Pokemon. I don't know what that would be, but that does exist technically. So this is a card that, you know, is going to be specifically quite good in certain decks, but I don't think in the metagame right now there's decks that are playing like exclusively multiple Stage 1 Pokemon. I don't know. But not a bad card. The potential to just draw multiple cards or pull multiple Pokemon out of your deck is always strong. This, along with Quick Growth Extract and certain Grass-type decks, could add a lot of consistency. So that's the one thing I'm really looking at here. Maybe they're trying to retroactively buff the Whimsicott stuff. Maybe. I don't really know. But it is interesting. This is an interesting card, and it's a little bit specific, but kind of general in the same way also. So it's a weird one. But Sightseer, here we go. Next up is this card here. Very interesting new tool card. Another new tool card, Metal Core Barrier. And we've seen cards like this before, but they're just giving us more of these cards. If this card is attached to one of your Pokemon, discard it at the end of your opponent's turn. So it's a 1-turn effect at the end of your opponent's turn. So like, you know, effectively a 1-turn effect. The Steel type Pokemon this card is attached to takes what looks like 50 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. This is a really big deal, guys. Like, along with Mega Mawile, like, if you know you're going to get attacked next turn, you just sort of play this onto Mega Mawile, and you take 50 less damage. Double Indeedee, minus 50 plus 40 healing is a really big deal. This is going to allow, you know, Mawile to kind of stick around for quite some time. Not only that, but we do have a supporter card that actually searches for tool cards out of your deck. I forget what it's called, but there are cards in Pokemon Pocket that can find more tool cards in your deck. So I like this. I really do like this card, and I think it has a lot of potential, not only with Mega Mawile, but really any steel type card. You know, you can kind of play this with any steel Pokemon and play the supporter card or Pokemon or whatever it is that searches your deck for tool cards, and all of a sudden, like, you know, that's 100 damage reduction throughout the game. It's kind of a big deal. So keep your eye on Middle Core Barrier, because this could be absolutely broken to fix specific breakpoints. Very interesting. You're still going to get KO'd. You're still going to get KO'd by Charizard. But yeah, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Next up is going to be Mousehold. We are getting a Mousehold card. One of the weird Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet, but one of my favorites. Mousehold here, which, by the way, is the evolved form of Tandemaus. So this is a Stage 1 Pokemon, 70 HP. Flip one coin. For each Tandemaus and Mousehold you have in play, this attack does 60 damage for each heads. You're going to be capped at 2 no matter what. You can't have, you know, 2 Mouseholds and 2 Tandemauses in play because you have to evolve them to go into the others. But yeah, so, you know, 1 energy potentially dealing 120 damage is pretty cool. You know, you can play this with Will. It's an interesting little card there, right? Now, let's take a look at the promo, guys. We are getting Mega Medicham EX as a promo card. This might be news to you guys, but, you know, typically promos aren't very good. However, this is kind of looking to be potentially the best promo we've ever gotten. I might go out on a limb and say that. 180 HP Stage 1 Fighting type Pokemon. They're giving us Mega Lopunny. They're giving us Mega Medicham until we get that Mega Lucario, which I know is going to be strong. We've yet to get Mega Lucario. Maybe it's coming in the set. Who knows? Maybe it's coming in the next set. I don't know. I'm just saying we've got Lopunny. We've got Medicham. You know, give us Lucario. Give us the guy. Anyway. 180 HP is nothing to slouch about, by the way. We don't know its retreat cost or anything, I don't think. It's probably going to be weak to Psychic, but it has the attack here. Chakra Fist, 100 damage for 1 fighting and 2 colorless. 1 fighting, 2 colorless. If this Pokemon has any Psychic energy attached to it, this attack does 40 more damage. This attack damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So yet again, a card that is always hitting for 140 damage, will be hitting through that Metal Core Barrier and all of these other types of effects that might be in play. Very interesting. 140 for 3 energies on a Stage 1 it is. 2 colorless, you can turbo to it, but we need that to be Psychic energy. We don't have a Psychic energy baby, you know, ramping Pokemon, right? So, I mean, what are we doing about that? Are we playing this with Gardevoir? Are we? Either Gardevoir, the non-EX one, you know, the non-Mega or the Mega Pokemon. I don't know. We could also play this with Giratina to generate energies. You could play Dawn to kind of move those energies to Mega Medicham. It is interesting. This is an interesting card. It's a bit of a combo card, but 140 is 140, 180 is 180. I mean, it's kind of a respectable card here. I don't think it's just, you know, going to change the world or anything, but it is quite interesting. So we had to take a look here at Mega Medicham. What do you guys think about Mega Medicham? You know what I mean? It feels kind of Poliwrath, you know, EX-like, you know, in some ways. But 180 is a lot of HP, you know. Okay, next up is Cinderace. We are getting a promo Cinderace card here. For whatever, you know, that's worth. Stage 2, only 130 HP. It's got the attack here. Fireball shot 120 during your next turn. This Pokemon can attack. So, you know, to me, this is just sort of like a filler card. I don't know, unless we have like a Cinderace EX, and we can tech this in as like a one-of option. You know, it's not really something that I you know, I'm gonna, you know, call home about, I guess. But anyway, we are getting Cinderace EX, guys. And that's all the Pokemon. So let's scroll down here and take a look at some new game updates and things that might be coming here or are going to be coming on the release here of B2 Fantastical Parade. Quite a long video. You guys love these videos, though. Trust me. You know, don't lie about it. I know you like these videos. We are getting here new features. So right here, message in the trade feature. So when sending a card for trade, you'll be able to add a message to specify that you're looking for a card in your wish list or a card in different languages. I like this. I do. I don't know how well this is going to affect, but I guess, you know, in communications with random players, this should be an improvement to the trading functionality. So that's pretty cool. Let's take a look at this. Random solo battle. A new solo battle option will be added to the roster. Random battle. A new game mode? A new game mode. Is that what you were talking about me? Listen, this isn't ranked. Is it? I don't know. Let's read it. I'm excited. I'm getting excited. Random battle. You'll face a completely random deck when you start the battle. The possible decks available are unknown, but they could be taken from a pool of currently existing step-up battles. There seems to be levels of random battles similar to step-up battles with a reward for the first time you complete them, as well as battle tasks. Okay, so this is going to be, it's solo battles, right? So, you know, this is interesting to me, and this is just content. So anything that gets people to play the game, I'm excited about. I kind of would like an additional game mode that's, you know, player versus player, but more expansions to the solo battle feature that could be more fun is interesting. You know, random decks, you don't know what you're going up against, and you do get rewards for completing these. This could just be fun to do. This could just be a fun thing. So a new solo battle game mode. I would like to see a new game mode added to, you know, ranked battle, like a player versus player type battle. You know, it is what it is. New content, new game modes, new things to do in the game. This is all an upside. Hopefully this is fun. It sounds pretty fun. But anyway, there you go. Random battles is coming. Also, step up battle. What is step up battle? Similar to step up. I don't even know what step up battles are. Have I ever done a step up battle? I don't know what's going on here. Anyway. All good. Upcoming events. Many events will take place to get exclusive cosmetics and many rewards. Elite deck gift mission. Complete missions to obtain a powerful fire type elite deck featuring Mega Blaziken and Entei. Do they know that we're not playing Entei with Mega Blaziken these days in the metagame? It is what it is. You can get these cards, or I guess this deck, for free at some point here, January 30th through April 27th. That's a long window. Cool. I don't know if you're going to be able to use these cards in other decks. I don't know how this works. But anyway, there you go. Handy card collection missions. January 30th, again through April 27th. What's going on April 27th? I don't know. By completing special missions, players can collect various useful trainer cards found in all of the top meta decks. Very cool. So we can get Copycat, Sabrina Red. So this is just going to be ease of access to get really what we call staple cards, staple supporter cards, which is really cool. It says actually trainer cards, so maybe item cards are included in this as well. Very cool. I love to see this. And then as we see here, the Mega Medicham drop event. So this will be coming out February 12th through the 22nd. Again, we do expect this new season to be about a month long up until the 30th anniversary. But there you go. Mega Medicham is coming on February 12th as a solo battle mission. Cinderace and a Alolan Vulpix Wonder Pick event. So those are cards coming in the Wonder Pick event. We see Toxtricity accessories. Pretty cool. New accessories here, a cover binder and display drop have been revealed, both featuring the new Mega Gardevoir. They will be available as part of the premium shop lineup for February. So here you go. This is what you're looking at here. Very interesting stuff, guys. That's all of the information for today. Please, I absolutely implore you to comment down below, share your opinions. Are you excited about this? I'm extremely excited. I'm always excited when we get new cards, but this stuff seems broken. This is all the power level here is rising. A lot of this stuff to me is going to have massive implications on the competitive metagame. That means a refreshment to the meta, and that's really exciting to me. It's all stuff that we love to see. Again, I gave you my predictions, my analysis for all of these new cards. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Did I miss anything? Am I just blatantly wrong? I don't know what it might be, but comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're on the road to 50,000 subscribers, so let's go ahead, help us get there. And stay tuned for, of course, the PMPT tournament series, which will be returning shortly after the release here of whatever this set is, B2. What is it called? It's called Fantastical Parade. We got to remember that. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a good one, guys. The ranked, it doesn't say in here, but ranked is set to release, I think, like shortly after the set releases. So we won't be getting like another 2-week break, I don't believe. I think ranked will be coming out immediately or very shortly after the set releases. So we should go back to like the 1-month time period and like the 3 or 4 week long ranked season, which is exciting to me. So that's, I guess, maybe not confirmed, but I have heard that. So yeah, there you go. All right, guys. That's the video. There we go, guys. It's a long one today. Peace out. Have a good one. We'll see you guys later. And yeah. Bye.